Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your new studio for Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. Yes, we have made the trip. We are now 1 hour episodes now this fall. Yes, we heard you loud and clear. You want us for an hour, and so that's the schedule we're going to be doing. 5:30 to 6:30 on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, starting right now. What hasn't changed is you can still comment. You can still be a part of this show by tuning in on our YouTube channel, dropping a comment, being a part of the discussion. Guys, I have an exciting show for you. But first, I got to tell you how this all came about. So last year, well, actually, this is about year 3 of Out of Pocket. And it's evolved, it's, morphed into something I couldn't even imagine possible. From, doing pre-recorded shows with my buddies Jackson and John to, going into live shows, starting out for Out of Pocket and, people getting to, hundreds of people getting to see it. And then last year around this time, I had to stop Out of Pocket for some personal health issues. I mentioned that on an earlier episode of The Man Behind the Mic a couple of weeks ago. And I had to get back into it. So I started with the wrestling pod. I started making appearances on the Carolina Panthers pod I used to do. And then when Out of Pocket returned 4 days a week for your lunchtime break, we were like, okay, we have something here. We have something. And then when Boom Broadcasting came about, we actually changed the time to 5:30, hearing you guys wanting it to be a part of your drive home from work. And now we listen again. This is going to be a 1 hour sports episode 4 times a week on top of everything else we're doing. And we're also introducing some new segments here in the show. And one of them being Homer's House. Now, I could have went Homer's Home, but that's a mouthful. I'll probably mess it up about, week 3, just like I mess up Victor Wembanyama's name. We'll have Esteban Serrano joining us a little later on to talk some college football. He's a big Spurs guy, so no Spurs conversation in that moment. But he will be here talking some college football. Mac saying, swerve when you drive. Yes, Mac gets the first comment when we've been live for an hour in our new studio. So hope you guys enjoy the new layout. We appreciate you guys watching with us live. And so Homer's House, what is that? So I have a few favorite teams of mine, and I like the Dallas Cowboys. If you couldn't tell from the backstage area behind me, I love the Miami Heat. I love the Texas Rangers. I love App State. I love Duke. I love the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm getting a little bit more into hockey. And so this segment allows me to answer fan questions if you have them about my certain teams. But before I bring in Esteban for a more well-rounded part of the college football, I needed to talk about what's been happening with my Duke Blue Devils beating Elon this past weekend. And if you didn't see that game, it was interesting. It's the new era of Manny Diaz and Malik Murphy for this Duke Blue Devil squad. They obviously lost their coach, Mike Elko. They lost their quarterback, Riley Leonard. The coach, Mike Elko, going to Texas A&M. Riley Leonard going to Notre Dame. Those two teams squared off. And I'm sure we might touch on that when Esteban comes in. But Duke, give them credit, by the way, for them to beat Elon. You're like, well, what does that matter? They beat Elon, okay? Well, Duke's always been a basketball school, right? Whenever I've been asked about, my Duke fandom is like, is it, translate to football too? Yes, it does. And I'll hopefully be going to a Duke football game here very soon. And so for Duke to win an home game against Elon, that's not really impressive. But what I did see was a team that fought. I saw Malik Murphy, who's transferred a couple times, most previously from Texas. Quinn Ewers, obviously the starting quarterback in Texas. You're not going to beat him out. I saw Manny Diaz, who was the coach down at Miami, failed to be successful. went in Penn State, had a really good defense, and is now getting a second opportunity. Like, this is a team that has second opportunities. And I fully believe in Duke. And especially when you look at their schedule coming up, they got Northwestern next week. We got them on Saturday, I believe, if I'm doing my dates right. Actually, no, Friday. Friday is the 6th. The 7th is a Saturday. But a week from Saturday, they got UConn. They got Mid Tennessee State. And so that could be 4 straight wins before you play North Carolina, who just lost their starting quarterback. So, I mean, if Harrell can't, put it all together for the UNC Tar Heels, Duke could go into this season, starting the season off 4-0, going into that Carolina game that's at Duke. It's in Durham, and they could be a 5-0 team before they square off against a Georgia Tech team that's ranked after they beat Florida State. We'll touch on that in a second. And then they'll play Florida State after that, which Florida State is in misery right now. They're in crumble. So they could legitimately start the season 7-0, maybe 6-1, and in the ACC in a Power 5 school that gives you a chance. Max saying Ewers and Archman, time to go elsewhere. I totally agree. And what better way to do it than at Duke? Another thing I wanted to mention, App State beat East Tennessee State this past Saturday. And while I'm high on Duke and their aspirations, I am not high on what App State has. App State struggled a lot more than they needed to this past week against ETSU. That concerns me. That really, really concerns me, because next week they go to Clemson. They play the Tigers, and yes, Clemson just got the brakes blew off of them by Georgia, by the Bulldogs, who I believe is the number 1 team in the country. We'll welcome Esteban here in the next couple minutes to talk more college football. But I had to get this off my chest. App didn't look like the team I grew up watching. App didn't look like the team I had full confidence in going and wrecking the Sun Belt and going. Honestly, the only hope that App State has right now is they always show up against the bigger schools. They always show up. Aitman saying we need App versus NC State for the NC College Football Championship. Oh, wait, State backed out for next season. Yeah. And this is my beef, and this is Homer's house, so I can say this. The amount of NC State fans that text me about them being a better football school than App State, and I know I just trash App State for a little bit, it's ridiculous, it's absurd, and it needs to stop. NC State wasn't even great in college football, and App State's dominated everything they have other than the last maybe year or two. And so this App versus NC State, nah, don't even say that. Don't even say that. Aaron Schneider, the guy from Schneider's Cafe, and we got an announcement coming on Thursday, by the way. Just want you guys to know that. No correlation right there with Aaron popping up in the comments and me saying there's going to be an announcement made on Thursday. Aaron saying, I highly doubt that Sean Clark was going to fully open up the offense and give Clemson a lot of film. That's my hope, is that Sean Clark isn't going to allow Clemson to have much tape, but still didn't look great that you struggled against ETSU for most of the game. Roll Nears. Chris also saying roll better, Nears. Yeah, you got to roll better. And so that was my pick. That was my take on my teams. The Texas Rangers also have a game. They have won, as a matter of fact, 5 of their last 6 games before losing to the Yankees last night, 8-4. I believe they need to win out this series to stand a chance and maybe sneaking in as a wild card team. My hopes are diminishing day by day, and I would love to welcome in somebody who's also a Texas Rangers fan, but I didn't want to get into a conversation because then I get depressed. But you know what? The Rangers won the World Series last year. I'll get to meet the World Series trophy this weekend when it makes its way to Hickory, North Carolina, and I'll absolutely enjoy it. Aaron saying, Chris, one of the Nears won a game and the other didn't. Ouch. App better than West Virginia. App's the better Mountaineers. Well, let's get the opinion of my good friend, Esteban Serrano. I'm welcoming Esteban here. We're going to play some Trash or Treasure. We're going to talk about Florida State being 0-2. But Esteban, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing just fine, Mike. It's been a while. Get these rare opportunities now to come on your show and everything. Loving the new high tech graphics here. It gives off the Larry King live vibe. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm pretty excited. A big weekend for college football. I was so pumped to watch some gridiron action this weekend, and so we got to do that. It's been fun.
Dude, it is so awesome getting to watch college football again. We had week 0 last week. We had week 1 this past weekend. And one of them that wasn't kind was Florida State. Florida State losing again. And we're going to do a little segment. We're going to do, something called Trash or Treasure. Everybody loves
Oh,
to
geez.
overreact. Dude, everybody loves to overreact when it comes to the opening week. People need to remember college football doesn't really have a preseason. You can only play your own guys so many
Yep.
times.
Yep.
So we have to remember that when talking, but it doesn't look great for Florida State. Florida State being undefeated last year, being robbed of the college football playoff just because their starting quarterback got injured. Didn't like that. But then you come back and you start the season 0-2, losing to Georgia Tech in Dublin, losing to Boston College this past week. Esteban, it doesn't look good for the Florida State Seminoles. Do you think they're trash, or do you think they're one man's treasure this season?
Well, like you said, it's week 1, week 0, whatever you want to call it, and you really can't predict what goes on the next 9 to 10 weeks of the season. And so that's like the beauty of it, right? Because we haven't even hit conference play yet. We're miles away from that. Um, Going into last season, though, however, I think the whole controversy with the committee not letting them into the 4 teams that would play for a national championship, even though they went undefeated, they had a resume, they had everything aligned from the stars, and the constellations were just there for them. And then on the last day, UT makes it over them, which I even questioned myself, even as a guy from Texas. But the thing is with that, it's like you really can't Texas on paper sure had the better resume, right? And then Florida State, as a result, they do get the bowl game. Then they end up losing. People are like, well, should you have really been in the Final Four? And it's kind of rolling. We're seeing it's kind of rolling over into this season. I mean, again, I'm not an expert in football, but I can tell you one thing, right? When you have a rollover from a bad season or the bad ending to a season that you had and worked so hard for, and it rolls over into this season, you really have to like question some things, right? Because you do lose a little bit of talent with your seniors or outgoing seniors, and now you have your quarterback injured and everything, and it's a mess right now at Florida State. I don't think that's yeah. I don't think that's that. There's no better way to put it, Mike. I don't think.
Yeah, there's no better way to put it. And starting at 0-2, I mean, just think Florida State couldn't get into the college football playoff. Grant, it was 4 teams at the time with a perfect record. Even if they were to bounce back and start, gaining momentum, I don't think they can allow themselves enough of an opportunity to bounce back because they went from 10th ranked and now they're not even ranked.
Yeah.
Looking at their upcoming schedule, they got 3 unranked opponents: Memphis, California, SMU. And then you get into the ACC schedule where you have Clemson, Duke, Miami, UNC, Notre Dame, back to back to back to back to back to back. I may have done 5 right there. So it doesn't look good for Florida State. Does it look good for Clemson? We just mentioned them. Clemson getting the brakes blown off of them this past weekend against Georgia, 34-3. And I remember, being like, hey, it's not going to be a blowout. Shout out to Mac, who actually, predicted the score differential in last week's episode when we were on Friday, 31 points. I didn't think it was going to be a 31-point blowout. Do you think Clemson can turn around and be treasure, or do you think they're trash yet again?
Well, I didn't answer your question about Florida State. I will say that, it is the beginning of the season. Let's put them in the treasure slot right now because they are still, they are still kind of like finding their way here. I have faith in them. Don't get me wrong. I have faith in them. But now it's a Clemson, right? Like, obviously you're playing Georgia. You're playing one of the best teams, if not arguably the best team right now in college football. I think it's safe to say the best team. And then next week you got you're going to get Appalachian State, your alma mater, and then you got NC State. You're playing all these teams that NC State is ranked. Let's see here. Who else? Oh, they even get Florida State on the 5th of October. So they get them in a few weeks, right? I mean, we'll see with Clemson. I mean, again, you're playing Georgia. You're a 14 ranked team. I mean, and you got dropped all the way to 25 now in the new AP poll. That is a big dip, obviously. It's 11 spots down. So I really can't tell if, Clemson's a great team. Historically, they are a great team too. One loss to Georgia shouldn't define the whole season because you get to play them week 1, which is just unfortunate. But we'll see how these other weeks hold up for them too. I mean, like I said, the opponents coming up should be somewhat of a cakewalk. We'll see if that's the case for Clemson, but I'm gonna have some faith in them in the next few weeks.
You're going to have some faith in the Clemson Tigers. Hopefully they start the season 0-2. Just mentioned in my Homer's House segment to open up the show. Probably not. NC State didn't even look that great in their opening week, but we'll see how it goes. Going from Tiger to Tiger, let's talk about LSU. So LSU ended up losing their game. I believe it was Sunday night that they actually played that game. Brian Kelly, former coach of Notre Dame, was not happy losing to USC 27-20. Said that, maybe his players had already given up on the game. Mac asking, would you prefer Georgia week 1 or 12? Neither, if that's an option. But probably week 1. That's a fair, it's a good litmus test for Clemson. But Esteban, with the LSU Tigers, are they trash or treasure after losing their week 1 matchup to USC?
Well, like you said, like the wheels falling off toward the end, it seemed like, and I was watching this game live, it seemed like the difference in the game were late game penalties for LSU. That's what it seemed like, watching it on television. Of course, like the players down there are doing their own thing. But when you look at it too, like LSU, like being an SEC team, and, they're also in one of the better conferences, or not the best conference in college football. I mean, it hurts to lose to USC, which is now a former Pac-12 team. I mean, that's weird to say, right? Former Pac-12 team. They're kind of bouncing from last season too. They are a ranked opponent, which, it in some cases on paper, it makes it look a little bit better, but it also doesn't. And it wasn't like it was a blowout score either. Let's take a look at LSU's schedule coming up. Nick Cole's in a cakewalk, what should be a cakewalk game next week. They're both 0-1, so that should be something. Then they start playing their South Carolina. That's an SEC opponent. Then you got UCLA, South Alabama, and then Ole Miss. That starts everything. So I don't know if it's fair to call them trash. I mean, I've been pretty good with these teams so far that you've given me, but I'm gonna have faith in them too. That's just it. You can't differentiate anything from week 1 compared to like when we start getting into week 4 or 5, then we can really tell, okay, is it really gonna be, that season for them, or are they actually gonna pull this out and actually make their way into the final top 25 ranking at the end of the season? Because that's all it's about. And now it's a 12-team format, and now they're going to give more teams a chance to get in to the Final Four and then the championship. So it's going to make it lengthier, but it's also going to be more competitive, I feel. And we're going to see how this trial year goes. But I'm going to have faith in LSU. I don't think they're trash. I think they're going to remain treasure. But again, don't hold me and quote me on any of this, okay? I don't want this to be played back week 12 and then everybody's like, well, he said this week 1 and blah, blah, or the opposite way around. You know what I'm saying? I want to become a meme on the internet again.
After Yao Ming was a bust.
Yeah, I still stand by that, by the way.
He really does. I think that's still his fancy football name as well, right?
That's my fantasy. That's the Yao Ming Bust Squad.
Yao Ming Bust Squad. I like it.
And my mascot is Bob from Bob's Burgers. He's kind of like doing the weird face like that. He's like, oh, geez.
Esteban, I miss you, man. We're
having fun, man. We're having fun with that fantasy thing.
Oh, we really are. It was quite the time. That live auction draft is still available on Boom Broadcasting to watch on demand. Viewer discretion advised. We get heated sometimes. about our teams, about our takes. So just be forewarned. We keep it a lot more PG on Out of Pocket. But dude, I don't know. And I'm okay like saying, hey, this team's trash, and they proved me wrong. Like LSU, that might be it, just because of how stacked SEC is now. Like you got Alabama, Auburn, you can't discount. You got Georgia, you got Mizzou, you got Oklahoma, Ole Miss,
And now the
TSP.
like I was gonna say, like the addition now of Texas and Oklahoma, you're coming off. These are two big programs. These are two great programs historically, and you actually have to like now reevaluate all the SEC teams and think, well, okay, now how do we throw these two teams in the mix, and how does this compare to everybody else? It's crazy. It's crazy how the alignment has fallen now with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, which is actually, I think, going to make things more interesting and more competitive with every other team, because now, like Alabama too, like they're starting to fall out of the race for, the playoffs and everything, but it's Alabama. It's a program that they know what they're doing. So, they find a way, and so do all these other teams. When it comes down to the SEC championship, it's going to be so exciting whoever's going to be in it. It could be anybody.
I mean, honestly, the SEC championship might as well be the national championship game. Like,
I know.
It is that. Aaron saying, didn't you have FSU in your preseason top 4? See, Esteban, this is what we talk about with things coming back to bite us in the butt. Me, Aaron, and Chris were on Pocket maybe 3 weeks ago, if my math is right. By the way, we have a lot of people watching live right now, just on the YouTube and the Facebook. Elon Musk doesn't like us streaming on X anymore, so it's whatever. But you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, just like Aaron did, and bringing up the FSU in my preseason top 4. See, you know what? That comment hasn't aged well so far.
Yeah.
So far. Doesn't look like it's going to age well at all, because honestly,
Stephen A makes those mistakes too, man. Don't hold yourself to it.
I have my own opinions on Stephen A. Smith, but
me too. It's okay. It's okay.
One team I did want to, kind of go after right now was Virginia Tech. I don't know why people were like, "Oh, VT's going to have a good year. VT's going to have they're going to have a good year," and then they, just made some boneheaded plays at Vanderbilt. They only lost 34-27 in overtime, but dude, I like. When you talk about watching a team on TV, I don't know if you got the opportunity to watch this one, but when you get like that eye test people talk about, Virginia Tech just didn't have it. And when we talk about like how stacked the SEC is, how stacked is the ACC? You got Duke, who I think will do well. Georgia Tech beat Florida State, wherever that were now. Miami went into the swamp and beat Florida. You got Louisville. NC State has a lot of talent. You got Clemson still. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the ACC to where Virginia Tech might not be as good as people are thinking.
Yeah, and let's not throw out North Carolina either. I mean, they've had good seasons the past few seasons. I mean, who's to know what 2024 is going to hold for them, right? But they've also been one of those programs too that, like it's weird. The basketball schools turning football schools now. We had the same thing with Kansas. Kansas is 1-0, I believe, right now in football. So, like, in terms of the ACC, you're thinking of other like it's not a conference you associate with football, right? That's just the joy of it now. And Virginia Tech is, I didn't get a chance to see them, but I did get a chance to read about them. In overtime to Vanderbilt, I mean, that's pretty good for 2 unranked opponents, right? Like Virginia Tech, and the eye test thing, I still need to see it in order to believe it. I'm not there yet, but that's my opinion on them. I'm not going to say they're trash. I'm not going to say they're treasure. I'm going to stay neutral on this one.
And Chase Parks, appreciate you watching us on Out of Pocket Live. And by the way, we would be ending the show in 5 minutes at 6 o'clock, but we're not doing that because this is an hour-long show now for the fall. We'll be welcoming in Wayne and Eric into the show here in just a few minutes to talk some NFL action. Also talk Top Rope Tuesday with WWE. Chase asking why you think everyone was hyping up VT leading up to the season. Esteban, dude, I don't know, man.
Me neither. I think everyone just picks a team one year to where it's like they're gonna have a good season. They're gonna have a good. It's the team you don't think about, doing that sort of thing. But also too, like we're gonna see a lot of this when it comes down to the selection committee picking those 12 teams to play, there's going to be a team in there possibly that's like, why are they in there? You know what I'm saying? Like they could be in the 15 bottom of the rankings, but they still have a resume, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you're ranked and have a resume, as we saw with Texas over Florida State last year, I'm not throwing heat to the Longhorns at all. I think they're a great program and everything, right? Florida State being undefeated and you had a little bit of a resume building up. I mean, you kind of have to look at it both ways. I'm not the committee. I'm not anybody. I'm just a fan. Okay. But I mean, that's how it is.
We're just fans. We're fans talking about, our favorite sports, our favorite teams. Sean saying the best thing he saw this week was FSU losing Boston College. Congrats to Bill O'Brien getting a win over a ranked opponent. Tom, I have a hot take, and it would probably destroy the rest of the show. That Bill Belichick's former head coaches doesn't really do that good. Chase asking, does DJ get benched if FSU earns a third straight loss? Also, Chase, thank you. I don't know if you can spell DJ's last name, but if I had read it, I would have had to pronounce DJ's last name, and I can't do that. So, nor can I spell it. Esteban, that's a really good question. Would DJ get and this is why he probably isn't in Clemson anymore, is because he was doing so bad. Like, dude, I'm looking at their roster, and the other quarterbacks they have in is freshman Brock Glenn, freshman Michael Grant, freshman Trevor Jackson, freshman Luke Cromanhoke. You got a sophomore in Dylan McNamara. Also butchered that name. Dude, I don't know, man. Would you take a risk on a sophomore or freshman quarterback?
I'm not Mike Norvell. I'm not the head coach, but they're trying to spell the name in the comments right below.
Well, did Aaron get this right, or did he Google it and copy and paste? Either way, kudos to Aaron on that effort right there. I'm not going to fact check him right now. I'll do that after the stream.
He's good. He's right.
He's right. Good job, Aaron. I'm glad you can copy and paste. I'm giving Aaron a hard time. He's going to give me a hard time. He was giving me a hard time about the Florida State prediction as well. Was not cool. Was not cool at all. But you know what? It's okay. Esteban, he said, I totally didn't copy and paste. Chris calling him out, saying cheater.
Yeah.
Aaron will be on Thursday's Out of Pocket, so I'll be excited for that. Esteban, before we let you go and before we welcome in Wayne and Mr. Rick 8-Bit, if you will, there's two other teams, North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm going to just go ahead and combine these two because North Carolina loses their quarterback. South Carolina doesn't necessarily look great against Old Dominion. Looks better in the college football game than they actually did week 1 playing on the field. If you combine these two Carolina teams, are they trash, treasure, somewhere in between?
We'll go trash on these. I mean, like you said, you lose a quarterback. That's never a good sign. You're having to use your second stringer. And then the thing with South Carolina, I mean, again, week 1, right? Let's take a deep breath, right? Still got a lot of football to play, right? But, week 1, I hope it doesn't set the tone for a lot of these teams, but that usually is a trend too, when the rest of the season. So we'll combine them and we'll just say trash for now. But interesting points, though. I mean, it could go either way.
And it could go either way. I'm hoping North Carolina's trash, but we'll see how the new quarterback does. I think South Carolina has a lot of talent, so I'm a little concerned. I'm a little worried about that. But I'm also worried the next time Esteban will join us on Out of Pocket. Dude's a busy guy. Dude's a busy man, but he's absolutely killing it, especially making high school football in Texas a little bit better for us. So, Esteban, I appreciate you carving out some time to hang out with us on Out of Pocket today.
Yes, sir. Likewise. I'll see you next time.
All right. I'll see you next time, Esteban. And so what we got right now is we got not one, but two guests. And I'll introduce them one by one. This first guy has been supporting Out of Pocket Boom Broadcasting, Mouth It Off with Mike, Nightcap. I mean, I think he's been like he loves everything we do. I don't know why entirely, but he's climbing up the ranking boards when it comes to our top fans. We got a guy from the Booking Like a Mark podcast. If you haven't, by the way, if you're a wrestling fan, we'll cover some wrestling a little bit later on. But if you are a wrestling fan and you would absolutely love their podcast. And so I'm going to welcome in from Booking Like a Mark, Rick 8-Bit, wearing a Ravens jersey. Didn't expect you to rock that
Absolutely.
today.
I don't want to be partial, but Thursday's a big game, and then we're going to talk some Ravens, so might as well represent.
Wow. I thought you were a Cowboys guy.
No. You're thinking my tag team partner, Mark.
Well, I thought Mark was going to rub off on you a little bit.
No.
Wow. I didn't even know I was doing this, by the way. I had no idea. Oh, well, we're going to talk Ravens in just a second. Apparently, I am outnumbered 2-1 right now, but I'll bring in another Ravens guy. Thankfully, he isn't rooting for the Washington Commanders. This guy, you see him on the Nightcap, you see him on Drop the Mic, and what a guy. What a guy this is. He's a model, by the way, in his spare time. So glad he could join us. We got Wayne, the model Thomas. Wayne, oh my goodness, what a jawline. Mike Saban, Ravens takeover today, boys. It is
Absolutely.
A Ravens takeover. We'll be talking about that. How you like that, Mike? Dude, I guess I need to invite the tag team partner on so it can be a fair fight. Right now, it's a handicap match.
Hey, couple weeks. It is Ravens Cowboys, so I'm just saying.
Dude, I'm not looking forward to that. Booking Like a Mark, going ahead, marking the date, September 22nd. Brothers go to war, Cowboys versus Ravens. Well, let's start with a neutral topic. Let's warm up, make sure I'm not attacked immediately by two Ravens guys. Glad I'm not in the middle. I'm glad I'm off to the side a little bit. But NFL players have been holding out this preseason. We've seen Brandon Ayuk hold out. He got his deal. Trent Williams is currently talking to the 49ers. It looks like he's going to go ahead and renegotiate his deal. But Hassan Reddick, former Philadelphia Eagle, I know Mouth It Off with Mike misses him in Philadelphia. Hassan Reddick still holding out on the Jets. He's giving me a hard time because I was giving him a hard time on Twitter. Another more trash talk. Aaron saying, I hope Wayne's ready to lose to me in 2 separate fantasy leagues this week. Wayne, you want to respond to that?
Well, I mean, I drafted the best team on both leagues, so I don't know what he's talking about. So we'll go.
For that to be true, I would have not had to be in those leagues. I am. You can take second best, and that's totally fine. Max saying new meaning to shooting the bird. Oh my God. We're live, guys, on Out of Pocket, on Boom Broadcasting. We're doing live 1-hour episodes for Out of Pocket. Wayne's sneaky good at fantasy drafts, Mouth Off with Mike says. He knows ball. Well, Wayne, since Mike hyped you up, I'll let you go first on this. NFL players holding out. Hassan Reddick still holding out for a deal. Do you like players holding out during the preseason? Because we've seen 2 instances where, one, you could have had these talks back in the spring and actually get dealt to another team, actually build chemistry with that team. Or it looks like cases like Trent Williams, he just really doesn't want to do anything in the preseason and have an extra month off. It's starting to become a question what their intent is. Wayne, what do you think about this?
Well, I'd rather see a holdout in the preseason than carry on to the regular season. You saw with a long time ago, you saw Melvin Gordon when it carried on to the regular season. You saw Austin Eckler take his job. I think it depends on the position. I think it depends on the skill of the player. Overwhelmingly, holdouts seem to work unless something, again, unfortunate like the Melvin Gordon situation happens and someone outshines these guys. But I think for the most part, it works, and that's why they continue to do it.
Yeah, and until it's broken, why fix it, right? Eric, what would you say when it comes to players holding out?
I think this hurts. I think like Reddick, he went to the Jets thinking, hey, this is going to be a good team. I'm going to get a new contract. Doesn't happen. And now he's not playing, participating. It makes me nervous because if you look at baseball, where that's been a new trend lately, where free agents hold out, look at Snell, look at Montgomery. By the time they signed, luckily there's a minor league. There's no minor league for the NFL. If you hold out, what are you going to do? Practice? I mean, there's the UFL is good for helping starter leagues and with players getting time and getting some reps, but there's nothing like that NFL fall wise. So you're gonna have to go from basically 0 to 100 very short time, and now from holding out, you got a better chance of getting injured because now you really have to amp up your training and everything. So I understand. I think all of us would hold out for more money. It's everything's tight these days. But with this, you got to think smart. And I mean, it's not like the Jets are in a bad spot for Reddick. Jets are looking really good. They're looking like a Super Bowl contender. Take your loss, just play out, earn a better contract, and you know what? Maybe you earn a ring in the process. I think he's hurting himself on this.
That was out of pocket. Super Bowl contender. Woo!
Yeah, I was about to call him out. I'm glad Wayne did. Maybe on defense. I did draft their defense in one of my fantasy leagues because the Cowboys was already taken. But Super Bowl? Really, Eric?
Listen, I look at the spreads and the facts and everything. They have pretty good odds. So Vegas knows something we don't. And look at Kansas City last year.
I think they just are like, hey, people see they have Aaron Rodgers. Let's get free money from guys like you. I mean, Wayne.
Hey, I don't wear green. I wear purple. So just for the record,
Well, I mean, let's talk about this because obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite. Would be the first team in NFL history to three-peat 4 Super Bowls. The NBA teams have done it, back with the Los Angeles Lakers, early 21st century, but no NFL team has done it. So I want to bring a segment in pocket or out of pocket. Wayne was, not shy to call Eric out of pocket right there. But I do want to say Baltimore, you got to watch out for because they have John Harbaugh, because they have historically a really great defense. But what you added to this team was something that's unstoppable, unmatchable, is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, I really wanted him in Dallas. Obviously, I'm okay with the running back by committee approach they ended up doing with Zeke, with Dalvin Cook, with Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dowdle. But Derrick Henry is a difference maker. And when you put him up with Lamar Jackson, you're going to have to stack the box and you're going to have to read the option play that they'll run. Guys, I don't know if the Ravens make the Super Bowl. Sorry. But
Fair.
I think if Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are healthy and they're going to the AFC Championship game. And on top of that, I think combined they lead the league in rushing. Eric?
I mean, you have one of the most dynamic duos of all time. You have a quarterback that's broken rushing records. Then you throw in Derrick Henry. I mean, and look at last year. I mean, I don't want to brag, but we did really good with rushing last year. The only reason why we lost the AFC Championship game was we decided to become a team that throws the ball instead of running it. What was Kansas City's weakness last year? Running. I don't coach, so I can't tell you what happened there. But if you line things up, I think this is going to be a duo that's definitely going to wreck some defenses. And now you're going to focus on the run. Don't forget, you got Flowers. You got Andrews. Really good combo. You could easily, all you have to do is, now we're getting destroyed. At halftime, let's block holes. You're going to get wide receivers downfield wide open. And this could be scary this year.
And I want to add on to that before we have Wayne chop in. Mouthing off with Mike saying Baltimore stays healthy. This KC game Thursday is a sneak preview for the playoffs. We're going to preview Thursday's game, when Out of Pocket is back, 5:30 to 6:30 live on Thursday. Aaron is confirmed. We'll be confirming guests a little later on. But Wayne, I mean, I didn't even think about that because you have Lamar and you have Derrick Henry, you have Mark Andrews. There's no reason that if you're in the red zone, you're not scoring as a team. And in addition, if you're, anywhere between the 20 and the 40, you got Justin Tucker, one of the better kickers in the game. Like, that's a recipe for a high scoring offense.
Well, I think it all comes down to coaching, just like we saw last year. I mean, we can talk about the running game and how great Lamar Jackson's going to be and how great Derrick Henry is going to be. But if we abandon the run like we seem to do at every high-stakes situation, we're going to have this results over and over again. And I'm going to keep sounding like a Cowboys fan every single year when I say it's our year. It's our time. Sorry, Mike.
Out of pocket.
Every year I keep talking about how it's the Ravens' year, and every year John Harbaugh seems to disappoint me with his coaching. And it's a shame because he's one of the best coaches in the league, but he seems to get ahead of himself. It seems in a big game, and he reverses the game plan, and that's what I'm frustrated about. But yeah, I agree they should be able to go to the AFC Championship game, contingent on Lamar Jackson staying healthy. Not only do they need to use Derrick Henry in the right way, but they also need to take advantage of Justice Hill and our backup running. They have to keep the running game going and not abandon it so quickly.
Just FYI, Eric's tag team partner watching live on Boom Broadcasting, just like you guys should. Cowboy slander is always out of pocket. We do not condone that on the show.
Listen, Lamar Jackson is not elite Joe Flacco, okay? He's not going to down the field over and over again, and we don't have Anquan Bolden to rescue him. And John Harbaugh seems to continue to forget that. I love Lamar. I know he makes plays on his feet, but if we expect him to all of a sudden turn into this slinging quarterback that throws downfield all the time and makes plays with guys like Rashad Bateman and Austin, whatever his name is, Aguilar, or whoever else we bring on, we're going to see the similar success story, and it's not been what we need to be, and that's because we abandoned the run game. We stay with the run game, we're going to win.
And don't forget too, Harbaugh always likes to go for it. It's like, dude, you're at the 30, you got Tucker. Why go for it? You got an automatic 3 points. Why are you throwing away 3 points for 3 yards? That's my big problem with Harbaugh. He forgets that sometimes. He's got Tucker, who's almost an automatic.
Yeah.
Wow. And honestly, like, heck, I'll even know. Like, yeah, I would trust Justin Tucker in that spot. But if you're asking me, hey, I mean, we have 4 downs to get 10 yards, and we have Derrick Henry and Lamar and Mark Andrews. I'm okay with that. Like, that's easy. That's easy money. I don't like. Again, I wish Derrick Henry was in Dallas. I'm okay with what we have at the running back position. Myself and my dad talked about this on Dad and the Boys that dropped earlier today, naming who we think is going to be the best running back for the Dallas Cowboys this year, among other awards: Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Best Receiver not named CD Lamb, who I also have in like 3 or 4 of my fantasy leagues. I have a lot of fantasy leagues, guys. This is ridiculous. Way too many. But yeah, the worst thing that could have happened for any NFL team is we got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry as teammates. And if they stay healthy, if both of them stay healthy, it could cause problems. No longer running back by committee approaching Baltimore. It's Derrick Henry's show. I did want to talk about this. We got Top Rope Tuesday. It's Tuesday. We're closing in on the final segment of Out of Pocket, our first live hour. And I want to talk about this. I want to be very sensitive and cautious to what we say in regards to what happened this past week. Mouthing off with Mike saying, drop the elbow. It's Top Rope Tuesday. Here I am being like, hey, guys, let's be sensitive. Let's, be understand. And he's like, no, just drop the elbow. Well, I'm going to drop the elbow. forgive me for this one, but I do not fault WWE at all. Obviously, there were rumblings, there were questions yesterday, if you guys missed this, where Odyssey Jones was just gone from the WWE roster page. People found that online. It started swarming. And then Monday Night Raw comes, and we're waiting. They're like, oh, this is just a mistake. Did he get written off? Whatever. Well, Kofi is asking Adam Pearce for a tag team match. Never drops Odyssey's name. Never even drops Xavier's name, I don't think. And then we're like, okay, well, there's no mention of Odyssey Jones. This was a big storyline in regards to the New Day and the Final Testament. There was a real story there, and a big centerpiece of this was Odyssey Jones. Okay? Fast forward to today, Odyssey Jones has been removed from WWE. He's no longer with the company, as reports are swarming, because of a domestic violence incident that was reported. It was bad enough for WWE to say, you're gone. I do not have any room for domestic violence. I do not have any room for that. If this was an incident that happened recently, Odyssey, what are you doing? But in hindsight, if this wasn't, and if this was a later report, why wasn't this caught sooner? Wayne, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, this is where it comes into play where sports entertainment, they're lucky to be sports entertainment and not an actual sports league, because then there's that question of how he can impact and how he can't. Well, there's 100 Odyssey Jones out there. Replace him with Mark Henry's son and just call it a day. It's unfortunate, and you just got to trust the company in this aspect that if they know something, then it's the best for business just to get this guy out of there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially Eric, dude, like the worst people in this, situation company wise, not anyone who was assaulted. That's obviously another level. That's much worse. But the New Day didn't do anything. The Final Testament didn't do anything. And now it's like, well, man, now we give up our story.
I feel bad for Xavier Woods because I read a quick article. People are just harassing him on Twitter. He's like, guys, I didn't do anything about it. And I hate to say this, WWE tends to blur the line sometimes. I give them props for, if this is the true story, I give them props for taking care of it right away. And they probably were trying to make this as unnoticeable as possible. And unfortunately, in today's day and age with technology, right away, if someone sees something, you post it online and it catches fire quickly. At first, I thought if they were going gimmick, perfect, good idea to have Xavier, but yeah, it just is a terrible situation. I think they're trying to make the best out of it.
And I gotta ask this question. Odyssey Jones, his WWE career, we can reflect on. He was drafted twice. He got into a story for about 2-3 months, and now he's gone from the company. Wayne, when you think back to all the people who have been in WWE, we throw around this term in sports with NFL, NBA, we're talking about bus. Do you think this ranks high up on the list of bus when it comes to WWE in the world of professional wrestling?
I don't really. I don't think he's had a massive impact or that much excitement. He was fun to see. I was actually in Baltimore when he came out. And they started the storyline with him, and we were hyped. It was awesome. He's this big dude just taking on 2 guys at one time. It was amazing, especially with Karrion Kross and the Agony guys. It was fun to watch, but I don't think it's a name that everybody was talking about each and every week. So I don't think. I think at this point, what WWE is doing, they're kicking it while they can, while it's not such a massive thing. I think that's why they're kind of doing it this way, because I think they can get away with it and just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, well, it's not getting swept under the rug. You can't sweep anything under the rug nowadays. Eric, you are just somehow so knowledgeable when it comes to wrestling. Like you and your tag team partner will throw just the weirdest references that are like huge callbacks. Can you think of any other bus, if we can call Odyssey Jones a bus, when it comes to the world of wrestling?
I mean, people are going to hate me for saying this, but Austin Theory, he's got so much
Oh,
potential, and they've dropped
bro.
it so many times on that. By now, under the right people, he should have been a world champion or higher instead of being on the side, being a jockey and getting beaten up.
Karrion Kross.
Yep, that's another one too.
No.
Yes.
No. No.
I know we've been talking about this. Where's Kiana James? Like, if we want to talk about transparency, let's talk about the stars that we're not seeing for no reason whatsoever. We don't even know anything about them. Like, where's Kiana James at? You know, and I saw her premiere live too. It was awesome. I was excited for her, and she's nowhere to be found, and no one knows anything about, you know, maybe an injury, but we don't know. No one's talking about it.
Yeah, Mal the Alpha Mike says, can't be a bust. We never got started. Sell down with the Karrion Kross hate. This is legit. Like, Karrion Kross, to no fault of his own, just hasn't got something on the main roster going. And when he does, it's somebody else's it's somebody else's fault.
You also could say Keith Lee too. I mean, Keith Lee, great in NXT. He came up, and I don't know if he dropped the ball off or it was just booking with Vince and he tried repackaging multiple times. Keith Lee, if he stuck around or if he came back under Trips might be able to take him. Hey, who knows? If he's a free agent, maybe they put him in the storyline somehow.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. This is one I was trying to like put my finger on. You could say Mordecai was a bust in 2004. They presented him like the alternative Undertaker. It was weird. It was really weird.
Bleach blonde hair. Yep.
Yeah, it was really weird. If you don't know who we're talking about, just look up Mordecai 2004 WWE on Google, and you'll be like, "Wow, that looks like Kevin Thorne." Incredible reference. Good old Kevin Thorne. That gets me thinking. I don't know if Mordecai was my favorite character or Kevin Thorne was my favorite character. I'm gonna sit on that one. I'm gonna sit on that one for just a second. And Booking Like a Mark saying in a couple weeks they're rebooking Karrion Kross as the Scarecrow from Batman. I got excited, and now I'm just not. But Karrion Kross,
for the record, he's doing a lot of this month. I don't know if anyone's seen Booking Like a Mark because it's the anniversary of Batman. He's taking storylines from Batman comics and redoing them as with WWE wrestlers.
Oh, okay, that makes much more sense.
Yeah.
I thought that was a joke.
I'll give Karrion Kross this. He recently had an idea talking about a hardcore championship tournament, which would be a blast. I mean, yes, let Karrion Kross do something other than feuding with the New Day. And I don't get that feud. I think it's strange, but I don't know.
Yeah, Kross would be such a good Scarecrow, according to Mouth Off of Mike. A unique concept. The man's a visionary, like Seth Rollins. Mouth Off of Mike also saying Simon Dean, big bust. Do we think Simon Dean, the guy of the Simon Machine, is a bust, Eric?
That means he had to get over at one point in his career, and I don't think it did.
Oh man. Kross versus Miz loading 2. Wayne, I could be down for Kross versus Miz.
Yeah.
He didn't seem too enthused.
There's just nothing Kross that I'd find enjoyable. And that's just me.
It is just you, by the way. It's nobody else. Kross is good. Booking Like a Mark, Karma, a bust in WWE. People who don't know, Karma was Awesome Kong in TNA and came WWE, super, super scary vignettes, and then just dropped off the face of the earth. Honestly, also because she got pregnant. So maybe this isn't like super fair, Eric. It's not super fair.
I want to see more from Zoe Stark. I think they don't. I would like to see WWE come up with another women's title instead of just having the 2 heavyweight championships, and let's see what happens with that. I don't know. I think Zoe Stark's a lot more talented than people give her credit to be.
Yeah. Max saying biggest bust Vince McMahon storylines. I'm assuming that's like Vince's mind child of like, hey, this is what I thought. Let's just put the FTR in like weird clown costumes and have them wrestle, or Dean Ambrose in a hazmat suit.
Oh, or Triple H dressing as Kane to,
Yeah.
Ricky.
Wayne out of pocket, but very in pocket at the same time. I'll say out of pocket in the coffin. Guys, I am so glad that we don't have Vince McMahon in the creative room anymore, because we get, what people call cinema. And one of the things of cinema is the longest reigning Intercontinental Championship reign of all time. Gunther, it came to an end at WrestleMania 40 at the hands of Sami Zayn in Philadelphia. Sami Zayn win the Intercontinental title. Well, since then, Sami lost the Intercontinental title to Braun Breaker. Gunther won the World Heavyweight title. And now the two blemishes on Gunther's record have come back to resurface. Randy Orton wasn't a clean victory at King and Queen of the Ring. And Sami Zayn, he lost to earlier this year. Obviously, Gunther retained his title this past weekend at Bash in Berlin. And Sami Zayn wants next. Now, guys, you can imagine how close Sami Zayn has been to getting that world title. And he had that match with Roman Reigns in his home country, Canada, Montreal, couldn't get the job done. If Sami Zayn is the next person up to bat against Gunther, I'll be honest, I don't see Gunther's title run ending this early. I don't think it's Sami Zayn winning the title. Do you think, and this is kind of like a That Aged Well segment, if you will, do you think Sami Zayn ever becomes a world champion? And if you do, is it at the expense of Gunther right now? Wayne, you're already shaking your head no.
No, I don't think he gets the heavyweight title. I think he's he's in the contention for, of course, Intercontinental Championship and U.S. title. That's fine, but heavyweight, there's just too many big players out there. I don't see Sami holding it. Especially, I don't think Gunther loses to him. But I think this is the perfect opportunity to have this, because it is storytelling. It makes sense. It makes a heck of a lot more sense than Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes did, or whatever they're doing in SmackDown half the time. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great matchup. But there's no way Gunther's going to lose to him again.
I think that match is going to make a lot more sense to you when Kevin turns on Cody this Friday. That's my bold prediction for SmackDown. But you know what? We could talk another hour for Out of Pocket, and we're not extending this to 2 hours because I am a busy guy. Eric, Sami Zayn, do you think he ever becomes a world champion in WWE?
I'll make it quick because I know we're short on time. If he ever wins, maybe for Money in the Bank, I could see him carrying a briefcase and maybe cashing in, but I see that as the only way you can make him I hate to say a legitimate title contender, but right now with everything, like you said, there's a lot of big players and he's not there. I will say in retro perspective, it kind of makes sense that I honestly thought you had Gunther beating Sami at WrestleMania. So did booking like a Mark, and the fact that when he lost, they're like, all right, I guess this makes sense. They'll probably put the title on Gunther, but now this makes even more sense because now Gunther wants that win back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the storyline's going to be based. And honestly, we saw the match at WrestleMania. If we're getting that again, sign me up right now. Here's my wallet. Take it.
Yeah, Wayne, would you pay good money to see Gunther or Sami Zayn
battle
it out?
It was a great match then. It's going to be another great match when it happens. So I'm excited for it.
Well, I'd be excited for it. Sami Zayn reminds me a lot of Mick Foley, Mankind, a beloved character with the fans. Mankind eventually won a world title. I feel like that will eventually come to Sami Zayn. Maybe it's not this huge, long reign, but if we can get R-Truth to win a tag team title at WrestleMania, I feel like Sami Zayn can win a world title at one point in his career.
I think they just gave Sami that moment by beating Gunther. I mean, Gunther held that title for 666 days, and Sami Zayn, against all odds, beat the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in the world. So that's Sammy's moment, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And the tag titles at Mania last year. I mean, he's gotten his flowers. I just don't think it's going to be enough of a full bouquet.
Well, I mean, that was 2 great moments for him. And Max saying Gunther champ until Roman wants the title. Roman going for the world heavyweight title? Guys? Wayne, do you think that would be a thing?
He's Cena taking it from him.
Guys, with the Cena getting his 17th world title. Guys, I do not like these takes you and Mouth Off with Mike keep giving. Eric, back me up on that.
No, I can't.
All right.
Ric Flair hold that forever. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially
Listen, they're going to Netflix. I'm almost certain if you actually stop and look at all the deals and all the things that were added to it, no one's going to see it. But the fact that Cena's coming out of retirement right when Netflix is going to be hosting Raw, something big is happening. And honestly, Netflix, you know how when Fox took over SmackDown, they wanted certain things? I bet you Netflix has a bunch of requirements, and I bet you to start, they're going to have someone big holding that title. And I completely agree with Wayne. It's probably going to be Cena.
It's not going to be Cena. Mouth off the mic saying Cena versus Gunther on that Raw for the world title. And yeah, watch. Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. But guess what? Cena's chest is going to be caved in. And we're not going to get the retirement tour in December. It's going to end in January after Gunther's done with John Cena. Guys, this has been an absolute blast. We're now the 62-minute man with Chris Jericho.
Iron Man match.
Dude, it was a great Iron Man match. I won, obviously. It's been an awesome show. Mouth off the mic saying, great show, fellas. Hey, thank you. We had a lot of engagement over the last hour. This has blown my mind. So it is quite the time. Of course, Out of Pocket will be back on Thursday, 5:30 to 6:30. That will be the time slot. Until then, we have a huge slate for you. Nightcap tonight. Mouth Off with Mike will be back for a NXT Nightcap tonight. And then tomorrow is our busiest day on Boom. You got Quick Hits at 9 a.m. You got Drop the Mic, my wrestling podcast, at 2 p.m. You got the Lombardi Party at 6 o'clock. So if you're watching Out of Pocket now and you can watch the Lombardi Party 24 hours from now, you can watch that. And then the Dynamite Nightcap. And then on Thursday, you got Instincts in the morning, followed by Out of Pocket. And if you guys remember, we did a fantasy football draft for the Out of Pocket boys, and it was quite the time. We will be covering some of that fantasy football matchup this Thursday. We're going to invite a couple people on from the Fantasy Football League to talk that fantasy football matchup, to talk the NFL's Thursday night football season opener with the Kansas City Chiefs that we kind of even talked about tonight. But guys, it has been an absolute blast. Yes, come hang out with the Wild Mike on the Nightcap tonight for NXT. It's going to be a blast. Wayne, appreciate you hopping on today. Eric, appreciate you hopping on today. Everybody go follow Wayne Charm City Nitro on X. You guys can go see Booking Like a Mark, their podcast. And Eric does a lot of 8-bit content as well, as your nostalgic throwback. So appreciate you guys. It has been quite the time. Appreciate y'all so much for tuning in to Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting. Thanks to Esteban. Thanks to Eric. Thanks to Wayne. But we got to get out of here. And as a matter of fact, we got a little gift for you, staying till the very end.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.